If I told you that in less than 10 minutes a day, you could utilize the power of the 5 elements, wouldn't you be crazy if you didn't try to do it? With the 5 elements, you can bring your body and spirit into harmony with God and the universe and seek your highest purpose.
3, 2, 1.
For thousands of years, the 5 elements have been studied, storied, and mythologized over and over. From ancient Greek myths to modern movies and video games, the 5 elements have captured our attention and sparked our imagination. In this video, I will show you how to harness their power.
You are the answer I've waited for all of my life.
Each of these steps are so simple and powerful that even if you only have 2 minutes to spare on a given day, you'll be able to tap into the first 4 elements. Now, each of these steps has great mystical and spiritual power, but they are also backed by science and physiological research. I have studied both science and spirituality for decades. I hold a master's in biomedical engineering, and I have studied massage, meditation, and spiritual principles from masters in Asia and here in the US for over 15 years. The Way of Service is my project to bring together spirituality and science to help people live more purposeful, meaningful, and fulfilling lives. This process is part of step 3 of the Way of Service, caring and serving yourself. I outline the full Way of Service in this video. For each element, I want to give you a fast and simple step, and then also give you more advanced and lengthy steps if you want to take it further. I also want to explain to you the principles and aspects of each element so that you can begin to embody them in your life. So, what are the 5 elements? The ancient Greeks, ancient Indians, and ancient Chinese all generally agree on the first 4: air, fire, earth, and water. Now, what about the 5th element? You might be wondering. On this topic, there is not much agreement. The ancient Greeks, Indians, and Chinese, and myself all disagree. If you stick around to the end of the video, you'll find out why I'm right. The truth is that all 5 elements are available to you right now. If you take a moment to focus and appreciate each one of them, they will lend you their power. Those in deep urban environments may need to work a little harder to get the purest forms of these elements, but I believe that with a little effort, they will get the same results as those deep in nature. So, let's get to it. You're going to have to go outside. The first element is air. For the element of air, the first and simple step is to simply go outside and breathe fresh air. You should breathe through your nose, slowly and steadily, using proper posture by pulling your shoulders back and pushing your chest forward. You will find that this will increase the amount of air that you can breathe comfortably, dramatically. You will want to extend your inhale time at least 3 seconds and your exhale time at least 3 seconds. Qigong instructor Balin Wu tells us that we should follow the formula of 4 heartbeats per inhale and 4 heartbeats per exhale. You will want to find a comfortable but steady pace. Don't worry too much about exactly how long each breath is, because that will take you away from the important part, which is to feel the breath and to relax. Do this process at least 3 cycles, and then you will want to continue to do this process for the rest of the exercises. So, the way you breathe answers a simple question. Are you anxious or are you relaxed? These are known as the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous states, or the fight and flight or versus rest and digest states. Most people spend their time in the sympathetic nervous state, which is the anxious state. If it's not one thing that they're worrying about, it's another. Even our forms of entertainment can cause anxiety or maintain the anxious state, like watching a thrilling movie or playing a competitive video game. This state is characterized by breathing through the mouth in a shallow fashion. Now, the relaxed state is characterized by breathing through the nose in a deep fashion. That's why this first exercise focuses on that technique. This slow, mindful breathing will bring us into the parasympathetic or rest and digest state. This process of breathing shows our bodies that everything is okay. So the truth is, anxiety and fear are actually totally useless in the modern era. This is because our lives are never actually threatened. However, our reptilian brain, the brainstem, cannot tell the difference between being anxious about, say, how you word an important work email, or seeing a hungry tiger emerge from the jungle. In either case, the body's reaction is the same. Engage the adrenals, disengage non-essential healing and digestive functions, and cease complex reasoning. In this state, you are only able to focus on fixing that problem immediately. And usually you'll only have two options available to you, a form of flight and a form of fighting. You need to break this pattern by showing yourself, your body, your reptilian brain, that everything is okay. And the best way to do that is by practicing this mindful breathing technique. In the sympathetic nervous state, our body focuses on increasing inflammation to prevent bleeding. And being in this state actually is what causes chronic illness, which is caused by inflammation. It's a good idea to see how you are breathing throughout the day and to remind yourself to breathe through your nose so you can stay in a relaxed state. So that's it for the simple step of harnessing the element of air. To go deeper, you can start to learn more about different breathing techniques. I highly recommend this book. It's amazing. And the author does a great job of keeping everything entertaining and light while delivering great information on the topic of breathing and breathing exercises and different breathing techniques. So, what can we learn from the principles of air?
Air is the element of freedom. The air nomads detached themselves from worldly concerns and found peace and freedom. Also, they apparently had pretty good senses of humor.
From the element of air, we can learn the principles of freedom, invisible action, and wide influence. Air also represents and carries our communication. Air and wind change the nature of the other elements, but do not depend on them, and in this way it exemplifies freedom and influence. Air changes the weather, spreads seeds upon the earth, turns water into vapor and back again into water, and it fuels and puts out fire. The winds answer to no master, and they carry the messages of nature and of our voices. To live the principles of air is to balance freedom with knowing how far our influence can be carried by the wind. This is perfectly exemplified by the butterfly effect, which is named after the idea that a butterfly 1,000 miles away can set off a chain reaction of influences that may change the world. Now that you know these principles, I can share one of my favorite and the most important advanced principle for this element: clearing the air. You've probably heard this saying, and it refers to using clear communication to remove any doubts, misunderstandings, or falsehoods that might be hanging in the air. This practice of clearing the air means that we reach out to those who might be waiting to hear from us, might not understand our intentions or our positions, or even those who we might have lied to. You will breathe easy when you clear the air and unburden yourself. When we maintain impeccable and truthful communication, we maintain our freedom. The spreading of falsehoods in their many infinite forms is one of the reasons the world is in such a sorry state today. Too many people are okay with perpetuating falsehoods and have neglected clearing the air for far too long. We can smell the stale air of these falsehoods hanging over our heads daily. Most people are bound up and tied down by these falsehoods that they have opened their mouths and agreed to willingly. Often it's better to just keep our mouth shut if we can't say something truthful instead of just agreeing with someone or telling a white lie. This practice allows us to be free from the false expectations of others. I created a restaurant years ago, and one of our company policies was, honesty is not only the best policy, it's also the most efficient. Truth and communication are core principles of the way of service and of relationships. By wielding the truth in our communication, we can spread our beautiful clear air and influence the world. If you're enjoying this video, make sure to give me a like, hit subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. The next element is water. The quick and simple step is to find and drink a pure 8-ounce glass of water. Focus on the pleasure of feeling the water and thank it for nourishing you. There are no disputes about the benefits of drinking water, especially first thing in the morning when we are the most dehydrated. Water makes up over 60% of our bodies, and every single biological process requires water. In some ways, you could say that we are water beings. Drinking water will invigorate and activate your organs, especially first thing in the morning. Most people don't drink enough water, and some people don't drink any water. Some people believe that they can stay hydrated by drinking things other than water. The problem is if you drink drinks that have calories, like sugar or fat, your body actually has to use up water in order to assimilate those nutrients. That can actually lead your body to be less hydrated. Studies have shown that sometimes when you think you are hungry, you are actually just thirsty and dehydrated. The best way to figure out if you are hydrated is to see the color of your urine. The clearer and lighter that it is, the more hydrated you are. In some military units, you can be punished for being found to have dark yellow urine, as you are putting the rest of your squad mates at risk because of your dehydration. Finally, if you're not totally convinced, studies have shown that drinking water has a wide variety of health benefits, including increasing your metabolism, curbing hunger, improving mental clarity, and improving skin health. Water has incredible chemical properties not shared by any other chemical on the planet. This allows water to be used by all forms of life for a nearly infinite variety of purposes. Masaru Emoto has shown through his studies that water can contain emotion and memories. Check out his work for more information about that. To go deeper with water, you need to utilize its cleansing properties and bathe on a daily basis. Most people do this, but doing so mindfully and with the understanding of the transformational and cleansing power of water will shed a new light on this practice. Often when my wife and I get into a fight, sometimes we find that the best way to change our state is to take a shower. Once we've both showered, we see things in a brand new way. It's almost like being reborn. Note that the process of being born happens through water. And so each act of bathing is like a rebirth. If you don't have time for a full shower or bath, then you should wash your hands and face at least. And that'll only take a few seconds. Water is a universal solvent, and this does not just apply to chemicals, but also to emotions. One of my favorite spiritual teachers, Bashar, explains that crying actually is a process where our body will let go of old emotions and beliefs that no longer serve us. The act of crying embodies one of the principles of water, which is humility. Often we cry because we are finally acknowledging the fact that I was wrong. Most people are too proud to cry. They will stop themselves because they don't want to be embarrassed or out of habit. This forces them to retain these old beliefs and compound their errors. I have said for many years, there are people who would rather die than admit that they were wrong. To embody the element of water is to be humble and flexible.
Water is the element of change. The people of the water tribe are capable of adapting to many things. They have a deep sense of community and love that holds them together through anything.
I want to read to you one of my favorite quotes from the immortal Lao Tzu. The supreme good is like water, which nourishes all things without trying to. It is content with the low places that people disdain. Thus it is like the Tao. Nothing in the world is as soft and yielding as water, yet for dissolving the hard and inflexible, nothing can surpass it. The soft overcomes the hard. The gentle overcomes the rigid. Everyone knows this is true, but few can put it into practice. Therefore, the master remains serene in the midst of sorrow. Evil cannot enter his heart, because he has given up helping. He is the people's greatest help. The study of water goes deep, pun intended. And as a Pisces, I feel passionately about the subject. But I want to let Bruce Lee have the final word today.
This is what it is, okay? I said, empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
The third element to discuss is earth. The simple practice for the element of earth is to practice grounding, also known as earthing. This is performed by allowing the bare skin to come in contact with the earth. This is best done with bare feet, but you can use your hands if you prefer to ground but not take off your socks and shoes. The easiest way to ground is to find a patch of earth to touch. You will want to find a part of the earth that will allow the electrical charge to conduct away from you. Therefore, the very best way to ground is to enter a natural body of water. The second best is to touch wet earth, followed by dry earth, and last, grass. Online debates sometimes end with one person telling the other to touch grass, said to people who don't really seem grounded or seem like they need to get outside. The primary mechanism of grounding is to remove the excess electrical charge that's built up on your body. This actually happens instantaneously when you touch the earth. Most people, from my experience and discussion, have gone a long time without grounding. If this is you, please go ground as soon as you can. Pay attention to the state of your body and mind when you do it, and mention in the comments what you felt and what you experienced. I want to know. Grounding is how we commune with the earth and remain in balance with it. There are several detailed scientific studies on the act of grounding, and they show a wide variety of benefits. One of the most impressive and measurable benefits is the reduction of inflammation, shown through thermal imaging. We have discussed earlier how important reducing inflammation is for long-term health, and how it is an aspect of returning to a parasympathetic or healing state of the body. These scientific studies have shown a long list of benefits, including reduced inflammation, improved sleep, enhanced mood and reduced stress, pain relief, improved blood flow, and a boosted immune system. That's pretty good for an instantaneous process, wouldn't you say? This step takes the least time and may have the most benefits. From what I've seen, it may be the least practiced of all of the steps I'm going to discuss today. So, please go ground yourself. You can even purchase grounding mats or other items that will help you stay grounded while in the house. Here's the one that I use that my wife gave me for my birthday. You may or may not know that this is why the third hole of an outlet is called the ground, because it allows even our electrical devices to remain grounded. In order to take the element of earth to the next level, take a walk outside and in nature, and barefoot if possible. Walking is another undisputedly healthy practice, but we can take it further by admiring the bounty of earth when we do it. When you do take a walk, try to avoid thinking about the past or the future and remain present. If you find this difficult, remember to focus on the breath, which is an excellent tool for remaining present. Another practice of honoring the earth is to eat properly. Proper nutrition is beyond the scope of this video, but I believe that the most important things to do is to avoid unnatural chemicals in processed foods, and to try to eat seasonally if possible. This will allow the elements of the earth to be delivered to you in their most pure and unadulterated forms. The qualities and principles of the element of earth are stability, groundedness, reliability, and unwavering integrity.
Earth is the element of substance. The people of the Earth Kingdom are diverse and strong. They are persistent and enduring.
To embody the earth is to maintain your principles, no matter what the winds of change may blow. In this way, you can be like a mountain in the midst of a storm. It also means remaining grounded in reality. In the spiritual community, there is often a tendency to float up into the clouds and forget that we are living in a world with physical rules. The physical world is just as real as the spiritual world, and vice versa. We must remember that our path involves physical participation and that we cannot skip steps. As Lao Tzu says, the natural laws of the universe are inviolable. Energy condenses into substance. Food is eaten through the mouth and not the nose. A person who neglects to breathe will turn blue and die. Some things simply can't be dismissed. We remain grounded by remembering that we must abide by the physical rules of this world if we want to live well. The fourth element is fire. If the source of air is the air around us, and the source of water is pure water, and the source of earth is the ground beneath our feet, then the source of fire is the sun. The simple step for harnessing the power of fire is sun gazing and sun exposure. I borrowed this step from Dr. Andrew Huberman's podcast. You may have seen it before. I definitely recommend it. He's actually a professor at the Stanford School of Medicine. Ideally, you would practice sun gazing for 5 to 20 minutes depending on how many clouds there are in the sky. If the sun is visible, then you only need 5 minutes, and then if it's totally overcast, you'd need up to 20 minutes. However, any amount of exposure to natural light is beneficial. For the practice of sun gazing, you will want to look towards the sun but not directly at the sun, as that will damage your retina. Ideally, you'll be able to get enough sunlight into your eyes without hurting your eyes by looking towards the sun just enough so that it actually feels good but doesn't start to hurt your eyes. The process of sun gazing has been shown to reset your circadian rhythm, improve your hormone and endocrine systems, help you wake up in the morning, and help you get enough rest. Dawn and dusk are particularly potent times to do this, and that may be why we find the sunset and the sunrise so beautiful and pleasurable to observe. Now, you may be tempted to try to gather natural light through a window, either a car or a building window, or sunglasses, but studies have actually shown that this is 50 times less effective than getting the light directly into your eyes. It's also important to get as much sun exposure on your skin as possible for vitamin D production. In colder climates or during the winter, this may be very difficult to do, and so you should supplement with vitamin D. This is one of the causes of seasonal affective disorder, also aptly acronymed SAD. However, the good news is that getting the sun into your eyes directly will help alleviate these problems, especially if you do it mindfully and thinking about the element of fire. The more advanced practice of harnessing the element of fire is working out or doing physical activity, especially with great vigor. There's a reason it's called burning calories. Your body literally does the same chemical reaction that causes fire, combustion, combining oxygen with fuel, like carbohydrates or fat, in order to produce energy. And that energy is harnessed by every single biological process in the body. Even the most basic exercise, like walking or doing just one push-up, will start to get our blood moving and our vital energy flowing. This next insight came to me because we actually heat our home with a wood stove, and I was having a real hard time getting it to exactly where I wanted it to be. Now I want you to imagine the moment of the discovery of fire. That first time that the sparks hit the fuel and the person who was working on it was able to build it up into a fire that sustained itself and created heat. Fire was basically the first technology ever created by man, and any technology when it's first introduced is indistinguishable from magic. And so, fire is the original magic. Fire is created and sustained by the other three elements that we've discussed so far. It requires a perfect combination of air, earth, and water. It needs just the right amount of air, just the right type of earth, and just enough water so that it won't burn out too quickly, and not too much water that it won't burn at all. Maintaining our inner fire is just like tending a real fire. We need to make sure that it gets the right fuel, it has the right conditions, and that we don't push it too hard so that it burns itself out too fast. This dependent nature of fire puts it in contrast with the nature of air, which has freedom and is not dependent on the other elements. This is also important for the other aspects of fire, which are balance, as we just discussed with the other elements, but also passion, energy, care, and love.
The people of the Fire Nation have desire and will, and the energy and drive to achieve what they want.
The element of fire is centered around the heart, often called the most important organ in the body. Without this internal fire inside your heart, you will die. Cultivating your inner fire within your heart will allow you to shine your light on the world. One of my favorite presenters, Mark Passio, showed me the 8th principle of Hermeticism, known as the 8th hidden principle. It is the principle of care. And this principle flows from the heart and from the element of fire. We live in a world where it's considered cool to not care. Saying, "I don't care," is a common refrain. The way of service is all about learning how to care again. If fire didn't care, it would go out. This is exactly what happens to us if we stop caring about the things that we should really care about. Our fire dims and may just go out. We embody the element of fire when we feel strong passion and take decisive action in the world to affect our lives and the lives of others. Fuel your flame with these practices so that you can shine your light on the world. Now it's time to discuss the final 5th element.
Fifth element.
The fifth element.
Fifth element.
The fifth element.
Fifth element.
The identity of the 5th element varies from each school of thought, but in each case it stands out from the other 4 elements. In the Chinese system, the 5th element is metal, and it's sort of on the same level as the other 4 elements. The Indians said that the 5th element is space, and in that way it contains the other 4 elements. The ancient Greeks actually originally only discussed the first 4 elements, and it was Aristotle who came up with the fifth element, and he called it ether, or spirit. Ether is what pervades all the other elements, and it has been given many different names in many different traditions. Ether, chi, prana, atman, pneuma, and spirit. I don't quite agree with any of these definitions because I think that they are not quite complete. You see, there is one thing that contains spirit and creates time and space.
Did you find the fifth spirit? You are the fifth spirit.
Yes, the fifth element is you. Specifically, it's your consciousness. And so, the source of the fifth element, spirit, is your consciousness.
You are the one you've been waiting for all of my life.
You can see how this definition includes the Indian and Greek definitions of the fifth element, because consciousness is spirit, and consciousness creates space and time. The basic and quick method of tapping into the fifth element, spirit, is to meditate. You may have some preconceptions about the term meditation. I know I have. And there are many hundreds of ways to meditate, each with its own validity and uses. However, today we're going to talk about a specific method of meditation to tap into the fifth element of spirit. In this method, we will combine three powerful tools: the breath, your imagination, and music. One of the great philosophers and spiritual teachers of the 20th century, Neville Goddard, said, quote, "Imagination and faith are the secrets of creation. Imagination is seeing with the eye of God." You've probably heard of the power of visualization, and this is why it works. In this method, we turn our consciousness and attention towards our imagination, and in that way we can tap into the power of spirit. This method of visualization and using the imagination during meditation is sometimes referred to as astral travel. For this method, I prefer to use a good playlist of music containing both inspiring and relaxing songs. I've actually included my meditation list in the description of this video. A lot of these songs have personal significance to me, so if you want to create your own, that's probably the best idea in the long run. I like to set the playlist to shuffle, and that will allow synchronicity to determine the next song that I hear, and often I find it's exactly the right song that I need to hear in the moment. Music is incredibly powerful, but invisible, in its ability to change our emotions and influence our state and expand our imaginations. In this way, it's just like the fifth element. This quote from the I Ching perfectly describes the power and nature of music. Just as the long-awaited thunderstorm will purify the earth, music will purify human emotions. Sound and rhythm, invisible as any gods, honor the ancient and the living with the enthusiasm of the human heart, binding the living and the dead. Once you have your music ready, you'll want to find a quiet and comfortable place to sit, ideally outside if possible. You'll want to be sure that you aren't interrupted for at least 2 songs, so 5 to 6 minutes. Sometimes I have found myself doing this process for up to 2 hours, and I've had to drag myself away back to reality. Once you have everything assembled, your music and your spot, you will want to get comfortable. Now, some meditation instructions tell you that you should sit with nothing supporting your back so that you can get your back perfectly straight and aligned. And while I think that this is good in the long run, it's actually better, in my opinion, to just get started, even if it means supporting your back. A friend of mine once profoundly changed my perspective with this simple idea. If you're not doing any working out, say 0 minutes a day, why would you try to go from that to 20 minutes a day? Instead, go to 1 minute a day. The difference between 0 minutes and 1 minute is infinite, and you're actually going to do it if you just try to do 1 minute, or say 1 push-up. I think we should apply the same idea to tapping into the elements and to meditation. So if you need to keep your back supported to start with, that's a far better idea than trying to focus on figuring out how to sit perfectly when you have no idea how to do that. So the first thing that we do when we've found our comfortable seat and we've turned on our music is to begin the air exercise. do 3 deep breaths while seated. Then you want to close your eyes and picture your spirit or your astral body moving up out of your body, up into the sky. I like to see my spirit guides bringing me up with them because it's easier to do with company. Once you're up there, you can travel anywhere that your imagination takes you and that the music takes you. I have meditated with Lao Tzu on the mountains of Guilin, and I have sat on the balcony of Kaer Morhen from the Witcher series. Wherever you go, you will find the experience to be profoundly impactful. When you are done, be sure to remember to return to your physical body. I believe that this method of meditation is the best for beginners and for having a short period of time because it is very impactful, both because of the music and because of the use of your imagination. This method is also backed by science. The Taoists say to begin meditation, all you need to do is listen. Going from an active state of thinking to listening is a very simple step to take, and it takes your brainwave state from the beta or gamma states, which are unsynchronized and related to active thinking, into a more synchronized alpha or delta state. These states are associated with healing and meditation. So, to review these steps for the meditation. Step 1. Get a good list of inspiring and or relaxing music ready to play. 2. Find a spot to get comfortable for at least 2 songs. 3. Sit down and perform deep breathing as in the air exercise. 4. Use your imagination to picture your spiritual and astral body ascending into the sky. 5. Travel to whatever place or time you wish, inspired by your imagination and the music. 6. Return to your physical body. Now, the more advanced form of tapping into the power of spirit is to practice the way of service. Since we are the 5th element, and we are consciousness and the spirit, then so is everyone else. And so, in order to do a more advanced form of tapping into spirit, it's all about relationships. And the best way to build our relationships is to orient ourselves towards service. Tell someone that you love them. Give and receive a hug. And then do your best to serve them in the best way that you can. Lao Tzu says it best. Selflessly offer assistance to others, giving without limitation one's time, abilities, and possessions in service whenever and wherever needed, without prejudice concerning the identity of those in need. When you live your life this way, you will find the universe and spirit, synchronicity, and everything supporting you and guiding you, and everything will just work out. This is the entire concept behind the way of service. So the principles of spirit are synchronicity, or things working out, intuition, which is part of that process, peace from struggle, and ultimately relationships and service. So we can live these principles by remembering the idea that God's got it. Everything happens for a reason. So when we open ourselves to this truth, our life can flow in the way that it was always meant to. This is how we become oriented towards giving our gift to the world and doing it in the most exciting way that we can imagine. Now, when the 5 elements are assembled correctly, spirit rules the other 4 elements. This is the way of service, where the 4 elements support the decisions and direction of spirit. You can see in this picture that the 5 elements also correspond to the 5 aspects of the body, or the 5 limbs of the body, where spirit is the head and the other 4 elements are the limbs, which allow us to interact with the world. Now, you may be familiar with the inverted pentagram. In this diagram, you can see that the 4 elements are above spirit, and spirit is made to serve the worldly elements. This is the path of woe, as I call it, or the way of the ego. In this example, a person tries to make spirit serve his worldly desires. They may even bury spirit and forget that it even exists. This is the way of the world today, unfortunately. In the correct orientation, we gather power and spirit from the higher realms and from the angelic influences. In the inverted method, we attempt to gather spirit from below us or from the lower realms and from the demonic influences. And so the way of service is all about helping people and being oriented correctly and keeping your head out of your ass. Okay, so in summary, the basic 10-minute practice looks like this. For air, do deep breathing for 1 to 2 minutes. For water, drink 8 ounces of pure water and wash your hands and face. It should take 1 minute. For earth, ground by contacting the earth with your skin for about 1 minute. For fire, do sun gazing and sun exposure for about 2 minutes. Finally, for spirit, do meditation with music for 5 to 6 minutes. The advanced exercises for taking each element to the next level are air, clearing the air, improving and maintaining impeccable, truthful communication. Research further breathing exercises for more information. Water, bathing for transformation, crying for emotional purification. Earth, walking in nature, eating properly, which means eating fresh, clean, locally, and seasonally. Fire, working out and doing moving meditations. Spirit, serving the world, communing with other spirits, hugging someone and telling them you love them. And now to review the principles of each element. For air, it is freedom, wide influence, and communication. For water, it is flexibility, humility, and purification. For earth, it is stability, groundedness, reliability, and steadfast principles. For fire, it is balance, dependence, passion, energy, care, and love. And for spirit, it is synchronicity, intuition, peace, relationships, and service. So if you're having a bad time or a hard time in life, go take a look at these list of 10 steps for each of the elements. If you haven't tried one in a long time or ever, try it out and see if it can improve your life. And tell me in the comments if you have improved and what you found. If you want help finding and living your purpose, go to wayofservice.com and fill out my questionnaire to see if we can work together. Also, for the first 15 people to sign up for my newsletter, you will get a 15-minute coaching session for free. I will be doing a live stream sharing ideas and answering questions every Friday from 3 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. I hope to see you there. Hit that like button and subscribe and hit the bell for notifications if you haven't already. I will see you in the next video.